Good. You guys are okay with us recording?
Yeah.
Great. Good.
Thank you for joining me to the group.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah.
You joined the LX design team recently?
Yeah. It's been like 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
Yeah.
Or did you come from someplace else at ASU?
No, I was teaching at the Maricopa Community Colleges before.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we have a monthly meeting with all of the higher ed, or a lot of the higher ed people that are working in accessibility around Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So I think I might have met some of your compadres from over there.
Yeah. That's nice. That's good to
Yeah.
know people are working towards this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy you were able to join us.
Yeah.
What
Thank
you guys do in LX design is, and talking to people about Canvas and how to make their content accessible in Canvas is vital. So
Yeah.
I'm so happy that they were able to get somebody from their team to join us.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Yeah. Get to
All right.
know more about accessibility.
We'll try not to bug you too much.
Yeah, we have a lot going on in that team.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this meeting, people tend to roll in a little late. I usually give it about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Sure.
Hi, everyone. We're going to give it a couple more minutes if you just joined us for the rest of the group to roll in. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
We'll give it another minute or two. Meanwhile, I'll put in the chat. We have the website up for the ASU Accessibility Awareness Day Conference. And here is the website in the chat for that conference. We're very excited about it. Please spread the word, and if you have some proposal for a presentation, please, we're looking for proposals right now. You want to take it away, Alejandra? Alejandra is stepping in for me today. I had a lot on my plate, so she's gonna take over for me. Very kindly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see, Kathy, I'm trying to find the let me see if I can find the document that we were. Let's see.
Oh, that PowerPoint slide?
Yep, I've got it up. I've got it up. I just needed to open it. Okay. Okay. Welcome everybody to the ASU Digital Accessibility Liaisons. Thank you, Kathy, for the warm introduction. All right, so let's get the show on the road. So today our agenda is to hear a talk from Teach Access, and then we will have our accessibility giveaway towards the end. And then please feel welcome to stay after from 3 to 3:30 for our open discussion about what we talked about with Teach Access or any other accessibility concerns or questions you might have. All right, next, I'm going to turn it over to Teach Access to get started. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I want this. We'll do the giveaway later. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, take it away, Kate and Rolando.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're in different time zones, but we're all in the afternoon. My name is Kate Salka. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the executive director of Teach Access. And you'll hear a lot more about who we are and what we're doing in a moment. But to give you a little more background on myself, I've been in this role for a couple years. Prior to that, I was a faculty member at Michigan State University, a buddy of ASU, of course, working in the College of Arts and Letters there, doing faculty support in the way of curriculum, teaching, all of that sort of stuff, doing some teaching myself, and of course, working in the area of accessibility as well. And so I have great respect for the work that all of you are doing in the institution. It's a lot to do and to keep track of, and we're really happy to be here with you all today, and excited to share more about our work and learn more about all of you. With that, I will turn it over to Rolando.
Hi, everybody. I am Rolando Mendez. I am Teach Access Director of Education. I have been in this role since past February, so not as long as Kate. Prior to that, I worked in online learning in various roles at the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico and also as a faculty member. And I'm excited to be here with you all.
Perfect. So I'm going to bring up our slides and share our screen, but while we're here, we really welcome you to be here as you are. There's a lot going on. You're gearing up for the start of the semester, of course. So take the time you need. If you need to step away, take a break. We also really encourage you to ask questions throughout. While I'm presenting, Rolando will keep an eye on the chat and help flag any questions that maybe we want to address right away, or if there's something to save for the end. And then vice versa, of course, while he's sharing, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat there. If there's anything we can do, repeat, slow down, speed up, whatever that looks like, please let us know. We will be talking at you quite a bit, which is never really the preference, but it sometimes is necessary to share information. But we do really hope that you'll feel comfortable and invited and asking questions and chatting, if you will, in the chat while we're talking. So would love to just get a sense of who's in the room, if you're willing. In the chat, if you would be willing to type your name and maybe your title or what the work is you do at ASU. Of course, a title doesn't always encapsulate it all, we know. But if you're in the instructional design side, IT side, what that looks like, if you're an instructor, faculty member, etc. So let me get that pulled up, and thank you for one moment here. Okay, And it looks like we should be good. Is there any issue with what you're seeing on the screen, Rolando, or are we looking okay?
Looking good, Kate.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so I will check on the chat in a moment and get up to speed on where you're all coming from. Thank you for those of you willing to share today. So yes, we're here to share about the work that we do at Teach Access. Of course, you have to give a talk a title. So the title for this one is Bridging the Gap Between Accessibility and Education. So we'll really dive into that. There we go. Here are our faces up on the screen. We've introduced ourselves already, but we do have, and hopefully that bottom bar is not in your way as it is in mine right now. We do have our email addresses up here. Rolando can also drop those in the chat if you'd like, but it's our first names at teachaccess.org. So mine is Kate at teachaccess.org. Rolando is Rolando at teachaccess.org. We're also both on LinkedIn. Very welcome to connect with us there. We're happy to do that. A great way to understand the work that you're all doing. And then of course, to see what we have going on and the ways that we can support you. So quick agenda, just so you get a sense of where we're going. We'll talk to you about who we are. We'll kind of talk about accessibility and education in general, the ways we are thinking about it and continue to think about it. We'll talk about this whole bridging the gap notion. Where do we start? Where do you start? What's next? And then time for Q&A, as if there are some that we don't address throughout the talk. So before I really dive into it, is there anything, Rolando, have you seen any pressing questions or anything that we could address right up front?
No, just people have been introducing themselves in the chat, and we have representation from various areas of the institution. It's very interesting to see the different departments involved and interested in working or doing accessibility work.
That's great. So happy to be with you all today. Thanks, Rolando. Okay, so who are we? Perhaps some of you have heard of us, some of you have not. That's all right. I will walk through this information up on the screen here. So we are a national nonprofit. We were founded in 2016. We are registered in Michigan. Mostly that was, we had to be somewhere, and I happened to be here when we were getting registered. So that's how that went. But we are 100% remote. So Rolando mentioned he's based in Puerto Rico. I'm in Michigan. Another colleague of ours is in Michigan, and one more is in Tennessee. But we're working with educational institutions, industry members, partners, and disability advocacy organizations across the country. And so it really is this big effort, collaborative effort, and all of our work has kind of always been done remote because of that, because we're spread so far. We have some programs and things that happen in person, but a lot of what we're doing is remote work to support instructors in these spaces. A key phrase that we like to always kind of zone in on right away, and we really will kind of unpack this a bit more as we're chatting today. But our work is focused on teaching accessibility and supporting those efforts to teach accessibly. And so we'll get more into that, but if you're kind of like, what that means is that we're really looking at the ways, how do we support you all in whatever roles you're in the institution to teach your students about accessibility. We spend less of our time, or we're more in a supportive role for things that are already happening on your campus around teaching accessibly. So that idea of how do we make course materials accessible, learning spaces accessible, how are we supporting perhaps faculty and instructors with disabilities and what they need to be able to teach, crucially important, but not necessarily where we're spending most of our time. It certainly comes up in conversation, and we'll talk more about that. So our goal is really that we envision a future where technology is born accessible and inclusive for all. And we really mean all. And so we have a statement up on our website about the ways that we're looking to be inclusive and expansive in that way, and the ways that we're involving instructors, students, et cetera, that we're working with. And so you're like, okay, that's cool facts, but what does that actually mean? We'll continue to unpack that a little bit. But first, I would love to pose a question to you. And if you're willing to share in the chat, we welcome that. So what did you learn about accessibility and or disability when you were in school? That could be undergrad, grad, it could be certificate programs, other sorts of trainings. But what did you learn about? Or maybe the follow-up is, did you learn about these things? Were these in your programs, your majors, minors, etc.? So I'll pause for a second and let you answer that. Okay, thank you for those who are sharing. Please keep it coming. Oh, I'm seeing a couple Michiganders in the crowd and some Spartans, so we like that. But to this question, I'm seeing some nothings. I didn't learn it, nothing. Maybe learned about different needs for aging adults, specific to interior design, very interesting. There was some talk of person first language, accommodations, ABA, not too much, a little bit here and there. So it really sort of a smattering, if you will, a variety of answers, but still the trend is not much to nothing. And this is really common. This is a super common thing that we see when we're talking with people. Most people are saying, I didn't really learn anything in school. And that is still pretty much true now. So up on the screen right now, I have a where are we, meaning currently. When we think about where educational institutions are, a lot of it is focused on the teaching accessibly piece. And that's still true, still important. There are some institutions out there who have been teaching about accessibility for many years, continue to, many who are doing more and more around that. But there really still is this gap in accessibility knowledge and skills that students graduating have as they enter the workforce or internships or wherever they might be going. And that really resonates with where a lot of us are coming from who work in this field. You know, some of us might have seen it in school, but really not many of us. So we're looking at how can we support students in learning about it now, so that as they go out, they have this knowledge. And so I touched on the teaching accessibly and teaching accessibility. So just to give it a little more definition here, when we're talking about teaching accessibly, that includes things like making sure course content, technologies that we're using, activities that we're doing are accessible to the learners with disabilities, so that they're able to access what's happening in the classroom. Some examples might be adding captions to your lecture videos, adding alternative text to images, using descriptive hyperlinks, etc. So if any of you out there are familiar with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, the things that you would do in the name of WCAG or WCAG, however you pronounce that, is the sort of stuff we're talking about when we're talking teaching accessibly, if we apply that to our course materials. When we're talking about teaching accessibility, we're talking about what you're doing, what actions you're taking as an instructor, a professor, a faculty member, to teach it to your students. So it could be as, quote, straightforward, and of course that's a loaded word there, but as introducing a lesson or an activity on accessibility, on accessible design, or disability into one of our or your courses. So the idea here, an example is perhaps in a writing course, teaching students about plain language or anti-ableist language. Of course, you can imagine in more some of the STEM fields and tech fields, if you're in computer science and so forth, or in design fields, graphic design, etc. Those are things related to digital accessibility. So not only are you using alt text as you're teaching accessibly, you're also teaching your students what it is. So that's the teaching accessibility part. So why teach it? I suspect we're among friends here based on this group on why we would want to do this, but just to throw some facts at you or some ideas, it really does complement your efforts to teach accessibly. So as you're thinking about the things you're doing to teach accessibly, or you're supporting people who are teaching and you want them to teach accessibly, why not also then turn to them and say, our students really need to know this too. There's so many estimates out there about how many people around the world have a disability. It's self-reported, as we know, so it's a range. But anywhere as much as 1.3 billion people in the world, and that could be as many as 1 in 4 Americans have a disability. So this is a large population. And we have one more phrase up here. With students not having disability awareness or these accessibility skills and accessible design skills and so forth, they're entering the workforce not prepared to produce products and services that everyone can use. Specifically, we're talking about people with disabilities. So thinking about the ways that we're preparing our students to enter the world post-graduation, if we want them to be the empathetic, inclusive people that we are, this is part of it. This is helping them understand why they should teach accessibility. So I think I have 1 or 2 more slides before I turn it over to Rolando here. But the accessibility skills gap. So when we're talking about this notion of students really aren't, in a widespread way, aren't learning about it right now in school. What happens is when they're going out to look for jobs, for internships, they are running into a situation where companies are looking for them to have this knowledge. They would like for students to understand the basics so that they can come into those organizations and really get started right away on making and designing inclusive products and services. So there was a survey that was done some number of years ago. We recently did a refresh, and there's a link here, and I know the slides were shared out. The bottom of this slide, there's a link to a white paper that we produced earlier this year. It's not a big sample size. It's 107 respondents, so it's not huge, but it is a mix of industry, higher education, advocacy, and other nonprofits who answered. So an interesting sort of collection of people. And of those respondents, 52% said that their current staff have a little to no accessibility skills. So that's current workforce. 56% said it's difficult or very difficult to find candidates with these skills. And then the big one here is that 74% have said they've seen a significant or moderate increase in the demand for employees with accessibility skills. So what that's kind of highlighting here is that employers are saying, hey, we'd love for people coming out of school to have these skills. We can't quite find enough of them. So how can we start to address that? Oopsies, I'm so sorry about that. And so that's where we're going to talk about where we come in, the type of work we're doing, what we're looking to provide in terms of support and services to all of you, and how we're doing that. So I will turn it over to Rolando, and I will start keeping an eye on the chat. But before we really take it away, any pressing questions that came in, Rolando?
No, other than the comments that they made in response to the question about what knowledge about disability or accessibility they had. Janice mentioned, let's be honest, if we live long enough, most of us will experience at least one disability eventually ourselves.
Absolutely. As we age, for sure. Anything could happen at any time. And even if it somehow doesn't happen to us individually, it will be someone we know, or a friend, a family member, and so forth. And so it really is important that we're all talking about this. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I will mute myself now and let you take it away, Rolando.
Thanks, Kate. So Kate mentioned where we're at. Where are we at in terms of accessibility? And she mentioned that most educational institutions are working on the teaching accessibility part, and that and some of them are starting to teach accessibility and integrate teaching accessibility into the curriculum. So she also talked about that there's an accessibility skills gap. We need more technologies, products, and services to be more accessible, and there's a knowledge, accessibility knowledge and skills. So how can we bridge the gap? Bridging the gap, and that's what we do at Teach Access, first requires laying the foundation. and two components that will help lay the foundation for bridging the gap or for a bridge towards a more accessible future. First is awareness about accessibility, which right now we're preaching to the choir because you're pretty aware about what accessibility is, and that's the kind of work you're engaged with at ASU. Also, a framework for accessibility concepts and skills. We need to find that common framework that we say, hey, these are the skills and the concepts on accessibility that's a person that works in UX should have, or that a person that works in assistive tech or in computer programming, in events, etc., should have, to create a common language. After we lay the foundation, then we need to build capacity. And in order to really build that bridge, we need to build capacity at these levels, at individual level, first ourselves, and then at institutional level. The individual level, we do this by developing accessibility skills. And at institutional level, by embedding accessibility in the organization's culture and making it everyone's responsibility, not the learning designer's responsibility, not student disability services, not instructors, everyone's responsibility. And it's good to see, it was something good that we heard when we logged into this meeting, that ASU declared October 19 the day for Accessibility Day at ASU. So that's a good step. And that's when we start seeing it embedded in policies, when we started seeing it in the services, when we start creating programs and services, and we are saying, hey, are you taking into consideration accessibility? Yes, then we start seeing it being part of the culture. So we lay foundation, build capacity, and then we support growth and development and achieving this big systemic change, because it's not something that will change overnight. Requires support teams, sponsoring and amplifying works towards accessibility, either by organizations like Teach Access or by disability advocacy groups, etc. Fostering communities to support work in accessibility, like the ones you have created at ASU. So you're supporting growth and development at your institution. Expanding opportunities for learning about accessibility, and that's something that we're doing through our educational programming and resources, and embedding accessibility into the curriculum so that every student that goes through a degree, whether it's a certificate, under a bachelor's, an associate's, a master's, a doctorate, or a postdoc, has some working knowledge about accessibility. So not accessibility expert, but at least know the fundamental. And whenever they're in a meeting, whenever they're in a room, and a product is being designed, an event is being planned, or something is being created, they will ask, hey, are we taking this into consideration? Are we including all? So we want to bridge that gap, and we want to build capacity and support growth, lay the foundations. So how will we do it?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Something went strange. I'm so sorry. It's going the opposite way that I wanted. Oh, Rolando, hold on.
Don't worry.
Just keep talking. Talk amongst yourselves. I don't know what's happening. My computer is revolting. Hold on 1 second. Let me stop sharing.
Is there anything we can do to help?
No, it's just me having a day. That is my day. Oh, and now it's totally closed out. So, you know what? This is such a good moment, when we're like, oh, we know what we're doing, and then we don't. So just, everyone have a chuckle over it. I don't know what's happening. Okay, here we go. It does happen. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. That's great. Let me. Oh gosh, Rolando's gonna just have a laugh about this tomorrow. Here we go. Is this where we were?
Yes. Where do we
Great.
start?
Great, everybody.
Thank you. So, right, where do we start? So we talked about laying the foundation, about building capacity, and then supporting growth and development. And maybe the question is, where do we start? Well, right now, you have done you have established some initiatives to start building that foundation, to laying the foundation and building the capacity. So how can you support growth and development? How can you get other people at your institution to be engaged in and learning more about accessibility? So one way is to do it through Teach Access educational programming. And so that you understand how we approach our educational programming, it is informed and it's built in partnership with disability advocacy associations, industry, accrediting agencies, such as Middle States Commission, New England Commission, Higher Learning. We take into consideration how that ties into accessibility professional associations and also educational associations such as WCET. And we also engage academic leaders, support staff, instructors, students, and external group. We recently revamped our educational programming. Initially, all of our programs and resources were aimed on faculty and students. As we started talking to different institutions across the United States, we saw the need or identified the need to start reaching support staff, to start reaching instructional designers, to start reaching department chairs, because they were all part of that ecosystem that helps build or achieve that systemic change, that culture that we want around accessibility. So now all our programming takes into consideration all of these groups. And then we are providing multiple ways of learners can choose according to their needs, learning styles, desired levels of engagement, of course, time availability. Because maybe this semester we have too many things going on and we cannot dedicate the time to engage in one of these programs and resources, but we have also created opportunities for those that have a minimum time to engage in learning more about accessibility. And finally, it comprises resources, experiences, and programs. So some of the existing resources that we would like to point out or direct you to is that first is a teaching accessibility fundamental concepts and skills. This is a document that was created in partnership with industry experts. And it was we identify what were the fundamental concepts and skills someone should understand and have to implement inclusive design and develop technology for people with disabilities. So if you take a look at the document, you will see that you need to know about, accessibility means knowing about disability, knowing about assistive technology, knowing about the core principles, etc. We are on the process of updating those and having like a more scientific and rigorous process in terms of those fundamental concepts and skills. Remember the framework I talked about? So we're building that, but that's a good, pretty starting point. So if you need to point out to which concepts and skills should you know if you want to engage more into accessibility, they are listed there. Also, there's the curriculum repository, the Teach Access curriculum repository, which is housed on Canvas and includes over now is 300 educational resources. That means syllabi, slide decks, assignment prompts. So if you're an instructor, as many of us here teach and do administrative work, etc., you can go there. And if you're teaching a computer science course, instructional technology course, you can browse and see, hey, there's a slide deck, a presentation on applying core principles into course design that I can incorporate it into my course. So the faculty don't have to create something new because another faculty member through our faculty grants program created it before and tested it with their students. So you will find assignment prompts, discussion prompts, slide decks, videos, etc. And they're all free to use. They're all licensed under Creative Commons, and you can either use them as they are, or you can adapt them for your courses. We also have the Teach Access tutorial, and it's a tutorial hosted on GitHub, and it provides basic accessibility training for developers and designers via hands-on exercises and useful guides. And if you have no idea how to program, I tried it. I was able to complete a couple of exercises. And it's very interesting because you can see, hey, what the back end of accessibility looks like. Yes, we will be sharing the links to those resources in a minute. And of course, we will send an email to you with all of them listed so you can share it with your community. Also, the existing resources, we have the Intro to the Disability and Accessible Design course. This is a course we just released. As Kit mentioned, when we engage with faculty across different institutions, usually when we try to explain what we're about, they think we're about teaching accessibly. We're not. As we mentioned, so one way to try to get them to understand what are we trying to accomplish, we developed this course that is called Introduction to Disability and Accessible Design course. So it's an online self-paced introductory course that has 3 modules. The first one is on Introduction to Disability. For example, the models of disability, the ableist language, etc. And then assistive tech, then you move to accessible design, which is the second module, and the third is on universal design for learning. And throughout the course, participants have activities, right? They can complete to turn some of their materials or apply some of these principles into their own materials whether it's for instruction in the classroom, but also for instruction, teaching faculty. And when we did this, we took into consideration teaching and learning centers. Then we're releasing a couple of courses by the end of this month that are accessibility in the discipline courses. We are in this first release, we're having 5 courses, one on computer science, human-computer interaction, graphic design, instructional technology, technical writing, and UX design. And these courses are all 2 modules, and they were developed by faculty, and they're aimed to help faculty understand what accessibility principles they can teach into their own courses. And they have activities such as, hey, develop a discussion prompt to get your students to talk about accessibility or understand the importance of accessibility. Oh, go over your syllabus and see where you can start incorporating these accessibility topics in your courses. Also, it includes like the resources that are used to teach faculty. They can also be incorporated into the classroom. And also, we mentioned the resources. They're all free. They're open to everyone. So no need to pay for any of these resources. They're available to you. But we also have programs for faculty. One that we're releasing in September, and you might keep a look. We might share the information with you once it's out, but it's Teach Access by Design. So it's a facilitated online course that introduces educators and administrators to the basic concepts of disability, accessible, and universal design for learning. It will run from September 15 to November 22nd, and registration will be up probably next week, so we'll keep you posted. We also have the Teach Access Fellowship Program. We conducted the pilot for this program in the spring with 20 faculty members and staff from the California State University system and from the College University of New York system. And this program helps faculty create a community like yours to start teaching accessibility and advocate for accessibility at their institution. We have reconceptualized the program based on the pilot, and now we're doing a year-long program starting in January and then ending in December. Then and for the fellowship program, instructors and staff receive a stipend to do this work throughout the whole year. For instructor grants, this is another one of our programs that is one of our famous because it's been going on for a couple of years. And it's a stipend that we give to faculty and staff in creating and delivering curricular items or enhancements that introduce the concepts of accessibility to their courses. So each year we award up to $50,000 in grants, so faculty members can start teaching about accessibility in their classrooms. All of these materials become part of the repository, which are some of the materials you will see in the repository. I'm going to take a quick pause before moving to students to see if there are any questions or comments.
So far, this is Kate. So far, I've not seen any specific questions. We absolutely will be sharing these links out. We knew there would be a lot, so we thought, why don't we get through this and then we'll drop them all in chat. But I don't see any other specific questions, so I think we can keep moving.
Okay, thank you. So we mentioned we have programs and resources for students. We also have for faculty, we also have programs for students. One of them is the Student Virtual Academy. That one is starting in September. That's right next month. And it's a virtual monthly program introducing students to disability and accessibility. So students can enroll in this program throughout the entire year. They can attend as many sessions as they want, or they can attend all sessions. And all sessions are recorded, so they can, if they cannot attend any of them, they can go visit the recordings, etc. The other one we're piloting this fall is the Student Ambassador Program, and it's sort of like, think about the fellowship program that we just talked about, and for students, we're trying to create student advocates. But this program will be run by students. Students will engage other students in learning and talking more about disability and accessibility and how can they advocate for it at their institutions. And this one is also starting in September, but it ends in December with optional additional engagement opportunities during the spring. And the last one is Study Away. That was one of our first programs for students. And it was an in-person experience that brought students, faculty, and industry partner to explore the field of accessibility. We would take them to institutions like Google, Meta, Intuit, et cetera, and they would learn from the experts right there. After the pandemic, of course, it had to be moved online, but now next year we're doing it again on site. Also, all of our programs are aimed primarily to faculty and students at undergraduate and graduate levels. Eventually, we're expanding to K-12, to global, and it's in the reach. It's in the pipeline, sorry.
Yes, this is Kate. And one, I don't think you mentioned it. The Virtual Academy and the Student Ambassador Program are both free for students to participate. And Study Away, we're working that piece out. We're getting back to the in-person experience. So there are costs associated with travel and so forth. So more to come on that. But for the Virtual Academy and the Ambassador Program, free for students to participate.
Thanks, Kate. As I mentioned, we have rebuilt or reconceptualized and expanded our educational programming, and we are releasing additional programs and resources in the next couple of years. In this fall to 2023, we're releasing Mission Access, which are annual gamified activities designed to help learners learn more about accessibility. Think of scavenger hunts and challenges and quests students and faculty can engage with to learn more about accessibility. Also, we're starting in October, we will do bi-monthly 30-minute workshops where participants will learn how to apply one new accessibility concept or skill in their disciplines. And it will alternate. October is for faculty, November is for industry, but that doesn't mean the faculty cannot attend the industry or industry can attend faculty, but the focus will be different for each month. So also we will have next summer and fall of next year, we will have a best practices expo in December to highlight all the great things all faculty and students are doing to bridge the accessibility skills gap. And we're also releasing this summer the Teach Access Book Circle. Is a different non-traditional way to start reading more about accessibility, and it's more low involvement than all of these programs, which require more commitment and more participation and more involvement. Next slide, please. Also, we're releasing a Teach Accessibility playlist, which is a collection of podcasts, videos, movies, social media accounts, and other types of media. It's like you want to learn more about this disability or accessibility, follow these people on Instagram, or follow these people on LinkedIn, or watch this documentary, go hear this podcast, etc. And you can engage in learning more about accessibility at your own time, at your own pace. Also, we're doing a monthly micro podcast starting in January, and it will be focused on learning about disability, accessibility, and universal design from us, from our supporters, volunteers, and contributors. We're also releasing further along the pipeline Toolbox, which is a collection of templates, playbooks, and other items to support applying the accessibility concepts and skills into real-world scenarios. And this is especially useful for people that are recent graduates that are starting to engage in accessibility work, or people that are trying to advocate for accessibility and want to bring it to the different disciplines so they can convey the message and help advocate for it. And finally, the Teach Accessibility dossier, which will be more geared towards researchers, and it will be a collection of peer-reviewed publications on disability and accessibility that support research work around these topics. So I take another pause. We mentioned all the programs that we have, all the resources that we have for students, for faculty, give you, a preview of what's coming up further down the road. But we want to take a minute now to just get you to think or talk about how can you use or any of these resources or any of these programs to help you with what you're trying to do at ASU. So feel free to write in the chat if you want to come mute and talk a little bit. we saw that you were from different areas, different divisions. How can you use these programs, or how can you resort to these programs or to these resources to advocate for accessibility at ASU? With the work that this group is doing at ASU, how can these programs can be of help? We have different roles, so maybe some resources and programs are more adequate for LX designers or UX researchers when they're meeting with faculty. Some others are work with IT, so they could use other resources or be engaged with in other programs. And Kate just posted the question in the chat.
Well, I wonder if some of the fellowships could be useful for faculty that aren't tenured yet, students in our teaching college. You know, I'm not sure. Perhaps, or instructional designers that would like to, skill up, upskill, is that the word? Upskill, level up their game. I'm throwing stuff out here for the group. Maybe we could rephrase the question. Is it possible that one of these programs could be interesting to you? Would one of these programs be helpful in your career or maybe one of your colleagues' careers? Please come off of mute if you can. We'd love to hear from you, and I'll stop spotlighting everybody so it makes it easier.
Well, I know that when we wrote our guidelines, I was aware of your tutorials, the one on web development. I think it's stored in Git right now. So probably there's some of your info in our guidelines.
I know our UDAP team has some faculty who are interested in ways to teach their students more about accessibility. So just providing the resources to them will be helpful.
And as you engage with faculty and staff at your institution, and they're at different levels in the process of learning more about accessibility, there are different ways they could engage. For example, if you have faculty that are aware of accessibility and they want to start teaching, a good first step that we always recommend is like, what does accessibility look like for your discipline? It's not the same for computer science, because computer science is most focused on the upper goal and on the programming, but then for marketing, it's completely different than from human-computer interaction. So the courses that are releasing at the end of this month is a good way. We don't have courses for every discipline in array of disciplines, but we have for about 5 of them, and we will be releasing a couple of more by the end of the academic year. So it's a good way to understand. And also, if they're not from the discipline, it's good to understand how other disciplines are teaching accessibility, because then say, oh, it's as simple as, getting my students to talk about how they might create a service that is accessible to people with disabilities, or how this project that I'm working on might not consider the needs of all the users. Also, you
This
have
is Kate.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I wanted to read off some of the comments in the chat for things that have been shared in case people are not looking there. We have ideas around using them for professional development, doing some virtual trainings with specific allies. That's always a big one, where you already might know people across the institution who would be open to some of this or could benefit from it. Of course, the grant is motivating for many reasons, and we agree. Working with, Sherry said, I work with developers of web services and apps, so the GitHub development would be a good resource. Interesting question from Victoria. Does anyone know if there are any classes in the works for comp sci, HCI, UX, etc., that are about accessibility? So I gave that the eyeballs of, I also would be interested to know. The curriculum repository could be valuable. Let's see, learning to teach students about accessibility could help us engage in it ourselves. Absolutely. Yes, we know Laura said I'll be checking out these resources. Yes, there are so many. So of course you're like, I don't know where to start. There's a lot to look at. And then Kathy, thanks Kathy, shared a link to the tutorial, GitHub tutorial. So lots of ideas flowing there. Laura said this semester I'm co-teaching Cripping Technology, which is focused on disability access, art and technology, humanities lab. Laura, that sounds very intriguing. Would love to hear more about that class. That's exciting. Yeah, I think we have some good ideas flowing in here. Rolando, I think I cut you off actually. You were about to say something else before I.
I was going to say that if you also work with faculty or staff, that you're trying to get them to understand why accessibility is important, other than using, the compliance part, it's a law part. It's just like understanding why it's really important. Then I would recommend for them to either sign up for the introduction to disability and accessible design course, which is self-paced, and they have until December to complete it. Again, it will be available in January, but just to give them a sense of that they need to complete it, or sign up by TeachAccess if they need a little more help and they want to understand and they want to get more feedback, then they can sign up for TeachAccess by Design. Like I mentioned, these two resources and programs are free. We're not charging anything. They can participate and they will get something out of it because it's something actionable. They will get to revise a lesson they have for the courses and then start introducing accessibility, or start thinking intentionally of how do I support neurodiverse students when I'm connected in a Zoom room like this, or when I'm presenting on this topic.
So I'd love, keep the ideas flowing like that. But happy to sort of just open it up now for either Q&A to us. We know that we gave you a lot. So if there's specific questions you have about any of the programs or resources, we're happy to answer those. Or, happy for it. I know that you have a sort of a half hour after this for general conversation, but if things, if anything has sparked ideas that you would want to talk through or share with the group, we definitely welcome that at this point. And while you're thinking of that, certainly Rolando and I have shared how to get in touch with the two of us. But for sort of up to date, what's happening, when are things rolling out, how do you find them? You certainly can find us on social media if that's a space you're in. We post this information on LinkedIn, still on Twitter /X, whatever it's calling itself these days. LinkedIn, I already said. We're on Facebook. And then we do have a mailing list as well that we can drop the link to sign up for that. So if social media is not your thing or that's not where you're at, I get it. You could sign up for our mailing list and we share things out that way too.
Great. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming today. We are thrilled that you could be here. All of these resources and your mission really aligns well with what we're trying to do with accessibility at ASU, and we hope we could live up to that standard. So thank you so much. Without further ado, I think our next agenda item is to do our wheel of names. And so I'm going to load the names here and I'm going to spin it. It's going to be loads of fun. Sharing my screen. Very exciting. All right. So let's see. Click to spin. Let's see who gets to win a prize. Ryan, are you here? They have to be present to win, right, Kathy?
Yes, you do.
So when you find a winner, we're all supposed to go, woo!
I think so. So, okay, we'll try it again. Should I just I'll take him out because he wasn't here. Sorry, Ryan. I will spin again. Joshua Bennett.
Josh? He's here.
Oh, Josh, you won! Woohoo! Congrats! And what do we win? What do we win, Kathy? We win access to more training.
WebAIM has an online virtual course called Accessible Documentation, and it's a really good course. How to create accessible documents like PDFs, Word docs, etc. It's normally $175, and you just won a free seat. I'll send you the coupon code in an email after the meeting, Josh. Congratulations.
All right, and then our last agenda item. So is to stick around for discussion, and the team at Teach Access is more than welcome to stick around if they've got time. But if you don't have time, you can always post in our A11Y Liaisons channel on Slack. You can also visit our website at accessibility.asu.edu, or you can DM me or Kathy, and my email address, I'll drop it in the chat. It's very easy. So, or search for me on Slack. So either or. All right. Well, thank you. I think we're going to stop recording at this point. Yeah, no problem, Kate. It's a little late for you. I can only imagine. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording.